So thank you so much, guys. I mean, I think just going to speak for about 20 minutes. I think good morning to our amazing speakers, our stakeholders, NetBank, who has made and who continues to make all of this possible. Amazing exhibitors that were patient with us in the morning because we got here, there was water everywhere. And to the amazing entrepreneurs that are here, but whether or no weather, we keep it moving. Because tlala, ayika weather kere. Tlala idila luena straight. So huna pula, hushapa lightning, wafa. So this particular topic is a topic I'm very passionate about because I'm an entrepreneur myself. But it's something that I love talking about, you know. So today, just for 20 minutes, nothing more than that, then we'll open up to our masterclass, an amazing lady who's going to do her masterclass for the day, right? Who's going to take us on a deep dive and share her journey, share some amazing principles on how she's done amazing work with a lot of township entrepreneurs based in various parts of Pitori. So today I'm talking to you about Tengisa. In my language, but in your language, go Rekisa. You know, sales fundamentals. So let's go to the next slide. No? So here's the reality here. Income is vanity. I remember years ago, we looked at my financials with my accountant. I saw a very beautiful number, a number I'd never seen on a piece of paper in my life. I'd always heard about. I was very excited. And then the accountant looked back at me, and then I looked back at the accountant, and then I asked him the question, but Zaga eko kai? Because it's not in my account. I give one more pampiring, but I don't have it on the account. That's income. So income is before you deduct the expenses, stock, that's the money that comes in. So income is vanity because sometimes you check in at the end of the day, you find that you've made 1,000 rand, or you've made 500 rand, or you've made 10,000 or 500,000. So you then think that that money is money that you eat. That is not money that you eat. So the reason why they say that it's vanity is because that money means everything, but almost doesn't mean anything because cash flow is king for a small business owner. The second part is profit is reality because profit tells you what you're actually making. So ke stoka magwenya ka 50 ranta, or ke stoka flour ka 50 ranta, ke stoka fish oil, mtlakasi, the pizza, the place where I cook all of these things, and maybe my cost comes up to 300 rand. When I go out and I sell magwenya akwa rekisang, I come back with 500 rand. My profit is 200 rand. So 300 rand akishi. The whole 200 goes back to the business so that I restock. The moment I restock, then I'm able to grow my market. You understand? So that is what, in this particular case, we talk about profit. It's the money you have made after you've deducted all expenses. Now, because this is not a finance conversation, I think it's important for me to also then just plug this as well. When you are working out your costs, even though you are working from home, I get sometimes house pana cost, you don't work out like us. But you must always have that at the back of your mind because when you want to grow your business and you need to go rent, it's going to throw you off and you're going to feel like the cost that you are charging for whatever product, you are undercharging yourself. Why? Because you have not factored in rent. So some things are difficult to calculate, some things are not. So if all the things that take you to make a product, for instance, you think, okay, number one, ki plastic, it's amakwenya, ki flour, ki fish oil, ki yeasty, what I don't know what the other ingredients are, salt or whatsoever. Then some of the things that you need to also then factor in, what are all the other sundry costs or fixed costs that you needed? You need a house, you need a place, you need electricity, you need the pizza, because you can't use pizza forever, the pizza runs out. So the question that you need to ask yourself is how long do you need to utilize a particular product before it runs out? Why? Because when we are running our businesses, we get to a point where, yes, we are selling and we are charging people for goods and stuff. And then what we call an unexpected cost. But that cost was always going to be expected because every tool has got a wear and tear. You understand? That is what that profit and vanity is. Please just put the slide back up now. And then cash flow is king. What does cash flow mean? It means that it's the money that we get left with. But also cash flow means that it's money movement. That means that in your bank account, there's money moving up and down. So when you are coming to a net bank and you're going to a bank and you're asking for funding, some of the big things that they'll probably ask you, even an FNI or DFI, is send us your bank statements. On the bank statement, they are looking for a couple of things, but one of the main things that they're also looking for is to see how much is going in, how much is coming out. To then be able to track, does this person have a consistent income? Which is why as a business owner, even if you reki some sweetie on the side of the road, or uchunela to the habli, or you're watching sneakers, you're making 300 rand a day, it's important for you to be disciplined in taking that money to the bank, either at the end of every day or at the end of the month. So I remember years ago when I ran Internet Cafe, I'd make about 500 rand or 300 rand at the end of the day when it started doing well. That was my definition of well, when we're doing about 300 rand a day. I'd then be disciplined enough to call a friend of mine who had a car. We go to the nearest town, which is Glenmarais. Then they had ATMs. I deposited in the ATM. It charges me 20 bucks. But that discipline now started to show whether this person is actually making money. Why? Because on the other side of the frustration, we believe that we are making money, but we can't demonstrate to Mutomong we are making money. So then you then get frustrated, why don't they get it? Because I'm actually making money. But it's purely because you're not showing it in the numbers. You understand? But to today's conversation, everything I just spoke about means nothing if there is no sales. Because sales, please move to the next slide, because sales is the life and blood of every single business. If a business is not selling and your endeavors are not to get customers, it's not a business, it's a hobby. You know, it's a charitable event. Now, one of the main things that we always find, especially when we invite entrepreneurs to come pitch, and in the number of entrepreneurial initiatives that we run, is that you then ask the entrepreneurs, what do you do? And it's a psychological thing, right? What do you do, or why did you start this business? No, you know, Mamsi, I saw that there's a number of young people who are unemployed, and as a result, because I know that I'll create employment. What do you do? No, because I've seen that, the rubbish is being thrown everywhere. So I know rubble removal will be removed because what does the business do? No, I've seen and as a result, I know if I run this business, I'll make enough money to be able to help Bongkhono. So, and there's nothing wrong with that, because at the very crux of it, because we are South Africans and we are Africans, we operate under Ubuntu. But before we solve for all the social things, you must first solve for the first immediate problem. And the first immediate problem is being sustainable. Put money on the table. You are not running a charity. You are running a business. So which then means when you are going out into the market to sell, and these are some of the things I'll talk about in the next 3 slides, not a lot of slides. I'm 5 minutes in, I've got 15 minutes. So as you go out and you sell, a couple of the things that customers want to know is, what is the product? What are you selling? But the most important thing is that you need to sell. So this particular slide right here, we're talking about just the one slide. Sales is more than just an activity. It's the life and blood of every single business. So one of the main things, let me ask everyone in the room, maybe just by a show of hands, how many times, or rather, no, let me change my question. Do you talk to new customers every single day? Do you try and talk to new customers every single day? How many people try and talk to new customers every single day? Okay, cool. It's a fair, maybe about 30% of the people in the room. How many people talk to customers, and then when you get very busy, you stop talking to customers because you focus on the technicalities of delivering that order? And that's where the real challenge begins. Part of making sales an important and critical part of your business is a psychological one, but it's a decision you as the founder need to make. You then need to make the dead decision. Every single day, from 10 o'clock, Hussein, or 3 o'clock, or whatever, because you know your customers and their patterns, maybe every Saturday, you then need to then set a dead time, a time that you will then define, that says every hour, I'm going to split my hour into 2. The first 30 minutes of every hour, I'm going to find new people to call. People that are not my customers, people that I think might be interested in my product, people that I think might like the things that I want. The next hour, the next 30 minutes of that hour, you are calling up all the clients that you've delivered work for. To do what? To say, outstanding, deliver that baloney, man, I want to get the Russian. Why? What are you doing with that customer? You are upselling. You are utilizing the relationship that you've already harvested with that customer to understand a couple of things. Do you actually like our product? Why do you like our product and you buy from us and you don't buy from someone else or anyone else? And then over and above that, what else can I upsell you? Because we then always forget and we ignore the fact that because someone has already bought from you, that means that there's a level of trust. So if there's a level of trust that's already developed because this person is giving you their hard-earned money, why are they trusting you with their money? Sometimes we then get stuck because when you develop a product, sometimes we develop products, and especially as micro enterprises, we then develop products because we like them. But at the end of the day, if you're not asking the customer for clear feedback on that product, then you might not necessarily be able to understand or even know what the customer actually thinks about that particular product. There are many products that were manufactured and they were created, but it's the consumer who then ended up deciding, this particular product, which is a sack of oranges, we're not just going to use it for masaka the orange, but we'll also utilize it as a bathing instrument. So it's always important for you to then understand how your product moves in and around your customers. Please move me to the next slide. So when you are then preparing yourself to selling, obviously confidence is important when you're selling your product. But some of the key things that any customer or any potential customer is going to look at wanting to know is the first one. What are the features of the product? What are the features? So when we talk about features, we talk about all the technical components. So let me make an example. So maybe let me make an example that's very common. So here's a phone, right? So if I'm selling a phone and I ask what are the features are what? It's LED, it's Type-C, it's all the technical things. It's Bluetooth, it can connect with 5 devices at the same time, it's multi-screen, I've got 100 megapixels, all of those are technical functions. You need to be able to define that so that customers that are interested in knowing what the technical intricacies and functions of the product are, you are able to then unpack that. The second thing that you then need to then unpack is benefits. What are the benefits? So if I'm talking about this particular device, what's the benefits of this device? I can download over 100 apps at the same time. I can connect 2, 3, 4, 5 devices. If I need to then go present and I didn't bring my laptop, I can plug it in the Type-C and run my PowerPoint presentations from there. Those are the benefits to a degree. The benefits also to a degree talk about the emotional feel that the person will walk away from and the emotional perception. So will people take me serious when I've got this device? Am I more efficient when I've got this particular device than this particular product? You need to be able to then define that. But the best way to define it is to be able to ask customers that have consumed and continue to consume your product, how does the product actually make them feel? Smart and very learned individuals will then tell you that when you're selling a product, you're not just selling the product, but you're selling the feeling of a product. Why? Because people don't just buy the product, they buy how the product is going to make them feel. The second part in preparation is, what are the limitations? So you don't go around telling customers what the limitations are. But part of the limitations is you're not selling a product for everyone. So you need to be able to know what the product doesn't do. Because if you go into every market and you're trying to be all things to all people, and I hear a lot of entrepreneurs when they pitch and they sell their products, no, everyone is my customer. Everyone is not your customer. Why? Because people buy from people that they like. And then people buying from people that they like, they're also then emotional buy. So it's not always seldom that just because people want candles, there's no electricity, they'll buy the candles from you. You then need to be able to then segment. Segmenting means separate your customers by asking the ones who are already buying, why are you buying the product from me? The fourth part is your competitors. You need to know who the competitors, your direct competitors are. Sometimes the direct competitors are not individuals on the same scale as you, but they're going to be competitors in the next 4 or 5 years based on your scale, whatever you measure as your scale. So right now you are selling the country, let's say 2, or you register the part, let's say 2 every single month. The tuck shop down the road, you don't perceive it as your competitor. But if you want to then scale and grow your business to almost their size in manufacturing or producing 500 quarters a day, they're then going to be your immediate competitor. So that is why I always say to entrepreneurs, when you are starting your business, we always use the words, I'm starting small. There's nothing wrong with that word. But the psychological effects that I've seen from micro enterprises and small business owners over the years is that they take that small term psychologically and it impacts them. So you then limit how you present and you pitch. Which is why in most cases you sit in front of people and then they're asking you, product I'll give guy. Then you think, you've thought about it because you always charge 200, then or 500, but you actually wanted to charge them 1,000. But 500, no, 500 I say. Then the moment you walk out of that room, you walk out of that room kicking yourself because they would have actually taken 1,000. Because it's a psychological thing we have not debunked the fact that small is a resource small. So when you say you're a micro enterprise, you are a micro enterprise because you've got one laptop. Not because you lack the ability that when you are put in a room with the right people, you won't be able to pitch. So when you then take that psychologically, you will consistently develop the imposter syndrome. That even when you're in the right room with the right people that are asking you how we can help you, you clearly can't articulate how they can help you because you still are dealing with the fact that you don't think that you belong in that space. So that is a mirror moment that you must have with yourself each and every day so that you then are able to assure yourself that you deserve to be the individual, you deserve to live a good life. Because in reality, no one was born to stand on the sidelines and watch people walk up and down the red carpets of life. Everyone was born to compete. Everyone was born to live, so live. Let's move on to the next slide. But Carol, just keep me honest on my time. I don't want to go over. The power of storytelling is very important. Let's move on to the next slide. The reason why storytelling is important is because when you build your business, you can't build your business by emulation or by replication. So when we then talk to people, you are not the next brand X, Y, and Z. You are not the next biggest FMCG company. You're not the best product that you love that is out there in the market. You are the next you. So when we then unpack the first couple of layers, and the couple of layers that we spoke about is the fact that people buy from people that they like. It means that, I might not necessarily, I can't compete on price, because when you compete on price, it's a race to the ground. I can't compete on quality because I might not necessarily have the equipment or the machinery to be guaranteeing that I'm the best quality in the whole entire market. So what then do I then need to do? As a sales individual who's going out to sell, then you are harnessing your sales technique and understanding, am I gonna make it an emotional sell? Am I gonna make it a technical sell? Am I gonna make it a practical sell? What do I mean by that? So dependent on who you are targeting the product to, you'd be able to then make it manageable to whoever you're pitching to. Let's make an example. So I'm selling water. How many people walk into shops and every shop sells the same water, but they sell it for different amounts? I don't know if you've ever gone to the mall and on any given trending fashion season, they're almost selling the same crop top. But they're selling it, some of them are selling it the similar material, some individuals are selling it almost different material, but at different price points. But all of them are competing each and every month and they've got their product out there. So if I'm selling this particular product and I want it to be a factual sale, I've identified that this individual is a factual individual, so I'm selling them on facts. So if you buy 200 of these from me, it's going to save you 300 Rand. Why? Because this is a cost-savvy individual. Why? Because I've taken the time to listen, to understand that customer, to be able to prop my sale in the right manner. But this individual is not interested in all of those things. They're interested in all the philosophical things to understand that this water is alkaline water, this water's got health benefits, this water's got medicinal water, this water was not manufactured by young children in a country wherever. They want to know those things, that this water is environmentally friendly and it's all for all the right effects. Then someone else maybe just wants to buy this water because I'm selling it and it's an emotional sale. As a young kid, sir, if you buy this water from me, this will enable me to further my college degree. They're not necessarily buying that product purely because of all the other things that you've spoken about. They're buying that product because there's an emotional connection with that particular story at the end of the day. So everyone in this room comes from different backgrounds, different homes, but the same cars. You might find that there's someone who almost has a similar story to yours. Who maybe might have gone similar, not the same, who might have gone to the same high school, raised by a grandmother, the household was tough, 4-room, things were difficult, who also had to maybe drop out of high school and then go work retail. So almost similar challenges, right? But at the end of the day, your story carries a level of uniqueness because there are notes and things in your story that will never ever be assimilated to someone else's story. So when we talk about the fact that you don't sell yourself by replicating a big brand, you sell yourself in your uniqueness. Define your story, tell your story, articulate your story, because your story has got the power to build a deep emotional connection with whosoever you're selling the story to. So there's a book I wrote, and in this book I share a story of, meeting a gentleman years ago, and I always share this story. And when I met him, I sold all the amazing things we can do, how cheap we are, how we are the best. And he looked at me dead in the eyes and said, "You are not the best. I work with the best. You are not the cheapest because we work with the cheapest. You are a young, ambitious guy, and I love that, but tell me your story." The moment I told the story, there was affinity. Why? Because I'm telling this individual why I do the things that I do. Why? So that I can build the emotional connection. The more and more you do that, then now you know what happens over time. You build the credence and you build the scale and you build the resources and the machinery to be able to have the technical know-how. Now you've been able to manufacture all these things that now separate you and segregate you in the market bigger than your story. So some of the things, right, to consider, especially when you're preparing yourself and you're preparing this amazing story. Number one, know who you are pitching to. Know who you are pitching to. I hear it all the time when I'm talking to entrepreneurs. But to work on net banking, email. Then you ask them the question, who did you send the email to? But to work on net bank. What does the person do? Net bank. But then you don't understand the fact that just because the person is from Nedbank doesn't necessarily mean that whatever you're sending them falls within the KPIs of that particular individual. You need to understand that every company has got goals and objectives. And then the second part is over and above the goals and objectives, every single company, every single individual who's employed within a particular department, that department has its goals. And then every single individual who works in a company that has goals and a department that has their goals, they also have their own individual goals. So meaning that you could sell the same product to 7 different individuals, but you're selling it differently. Why? Because each individual has got different KPIs for that particular product. So you can't spray and pray and hope for the best. Hope is not a strategy. So you as a business owner need to do the deep work of understanding, okay, cool. If I'm talking to people from Sesol, what does this department ordinarily deal with? Would my product be in line or a part of my product? Then if it's a part of my product, then I sell that so that I don't get rejected on the technicality that I didn't present myself in the right manner. And then the last 3, I get off, my time is out. But I'll tell you a good thing for the rest of this, right? The second one, build a connection with your story. Your story has the ability to build a deep emotional connection. The third one, be clear on your offering. The fourth one, solve the customer problem. Solve. The whole point of us being in business is to solve the customer problem. You should be fixated, deeply fixated in solving the customer problem. No other problem but that. Fix the customer. I can't emphasize this enough, but fix the customer problem. Not what you think the problem is. Be fixated in unpacking what the customer problem is. And then the last one, end with a clear call to action. I've heard a lot of entrepreneurs, they pitch, they sell their product, but they don't say what they want. Then you walk out of there, all you were doing is marketing, you're not selling, you're making people aware. So you got into a taxi or you refilled your car to go to a company to run an hour presentation. You didn't tell them what you want, but you made them all aware. That was a wasted exercise. Always be clear, Hore, what is it exactly that you want and what is it exactly that you're going to be walking away with from that particular order. Carol, can you give me one of the books? So the beautiful thing is these amazing guys back on NetBank are going to give out. So we're going to give out a book to everyone of everything that I spoke about. That's really going to be a manual. That's really going to be a practical manual that you will utilize in navigating your entrepreneurial journey and your business. Have a beautiful day. I'm not going to take any question. This amazing lady who's going to speak next is going to take all the questions because she's phenomenal. Thank you so much, guys. Have a beautiful day.